The positive pregnancy test felt like a delicate, terrifying secret clutched in my hand. I knew I had to tell my parents, and I wanted Liam, my boyfriend, by my side when I did. He was kind, attentive, and I loved him. But a knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. Whenever I pictured the scene, Liam came from a modest background, a stark contrast to my family's affluence and influence. I worried, with a certainty that chilled me, that my parents, particularly my demanding father, wouldn't approve of him. He wasn't their kind. To smooth the treacherous path ahead, I decided my best bet was my older brother, Ethan. He had a way of navigating our parents' moods. I video called him, carefully arranging my expression into one of sweet, sisterly dependence. "Ethan," I began, my voice laced with a carefully constructed plea. "Your little sister's future happiness, it all rests on your very capable shoulders now." I could almost see him through the screen, his usually relaxed demeanor sharpening. "You have to help me, Ethan. You absolutely must. Otherwise, Mom and Dad, well, they'll tear us apart. Liam and me. And the baby." A cold, humorless laugh crackled through the phone. Well, Amelia. You've certainly got some nerve, haven't you? Waiting until you're pregnant to confide in me? Don't you think? It's a little late for that revelation." His eyes, even on the small screen, glinted with a barely concealed fury that made me quail. Ethan, when angered, was a force of nature. Ahem. I coughed, a guilty blush creeping up my neck. I didn't exactly plan it, you know. I mean, who knew it would happen after just that one? Well, you know. I quickly shifted tactics, appealing to his softer side, if he still had one for me. "If not for my sake, then think of your future nephew or niece. You wouldn't want the little one to grow up without a father, would you? Or worse," I pushed, "not even get a chance to be born because Mom and Dad forced me to get rid of it." "Enough." Ethan's voice was a whip crack, sharp and final, cutting me off. I flinched, physically shrinking back even though he was miles away. If I were standing in front of him right then, I had no doubt he'd be seriously tempted to throttle me. I pushed him too far. "I'm on my way home," he stated, his voice flat and devoid of any warmth, before the call abruptly ended, leaving me staring at a blank screen. A long, shaky sigh of relief escaped me. It wasn't the enthusiastic support I'd hoped for, but it was a start. With Ethan running interference, even my extraordinarily stubborn parents would likely have to concede, however reluctantly. A mischievous smile played on my lips despite the lingering fear. My poor unsuspecting Liam, though. He was in for a barrage of interrogation, condescension, and scrutiny. But then again, I reasoned with a private, smug satisfaction. He was the one who got me, Amelia Sterling, pregnant. A little trial by fire was a small price for him to pay. The thought of him squirming under my family's intense gazes, trying to justify his existence, made me chuckle softly. His impending discomfort was my own little private amusement. We were on our way to my parents' estate, Liam driving his well-maintained but unremarkable sedan, a car he was so proud of. As I was lost in these rather uncharitable daydreams, we pulled into a bustling highway service area for a quick break. Liam headed for the men's restroom. No sooner had he disappeared from view than the mundane atmosphere shattered. Several sleek crimson BMWs gleaming within aggressive polish screeched to a halt, boxing our modest car in. My heart leaped into my throat, thudding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. A group of women, their faces contorted with a chilling rage, spilled out of the luxury vehicles. Their expensive heels clicked menacingly on the gritty asphalt, a counterpoint to the thrum of passing trucks. They moved with a predatory purpose that was terrifying. Before I could even process what was happening, before I could even think to lock the doors, my car door was wrenched open. Rough hands adorned with glittering rings grabbed me, dragging me out with brutal force. I cried out, a sound swallowed by the highway noise. The woman leading them, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that screamed money and power, her face a mask of cold fury, slapped me hard across the face. The sting was shocking, a burst of pain that sent stars dancing before my eyes. My head snapped back, and I stumbled against the hot hood of our car, yelping as the metal seared my skin through my thin blouse. "You little home-wrecking slut!" she shrieked, her voice venomous, sharp enough to cut glass. "You dare to lay your filthy hands on my husband?" She grabbed a fistful of my hair, yanking my head up. Pain exploded at my scalp. With her other hand, She delivered several more stinging slaps to my already burning cheeks. I was seeing stars, my mind a maelstrom of confusion and terror. You must be mistaken," I stammered, my voice trembling. "I have a boyfriend. How could I possibly be after your husband?" "Mistaken?" Her laugh was a harsh, ugly sound. "I have all the evidence I need of you seducing my husband, you little tramp. You still have the gall to deny it." With that, she flung a thick sheaf of photographs into my face. The sharp edges of the glossy paper scratched my skin. "Trying to steal a man from me? You've got some nerve, girl." My hands shaking, I bent down and picked up the scattered photos from the dirty ground. A part of me still clung to the hope that this was all some terrible, absurd misunderstanding. But as my eyes focused on the images, the blood drained from my face. There I was with Liam, in various intimate embraces. Photos of us kissing, laughing, holding hands. And then, the most damning ones, pictures of us clearly inside a hotel room, looking very much like a couple. The world tilted, the ground seeming to sway beneath my feet. My mind went utterly blank. "Liam, he's your husband?" I asked, the words a disbelieving whisper, barely audible above the roaring in my ears. I had met Liam during an internship at a small, unassuming tech company. He pursued me relentlessly for nearly 6 months, bringing me breakfast every morning, leaving little notes, always with a kind word and a hopeful smile. Finally, worn down by his persistent, gentle charm and admittedly a little lonely in my self-imposed normal life, I'd agreed to give him a chance. The moment I said yes, his face had lit up with such unadulterated joy. He'd sworn he would cherish me, be good to me for a lifetime. And I, a fool, had believed him. For 3 years, no matter how busy he claimed to be with work, he had always found time for me, showering me with affection and a seemingly endless supply of thoughtful gestures. Slowly, painstakingly, I had let my guard down, given him my trust, my heart, my body. I had given him everything, holding back only the truth of my real identity, the sterling family fortune. I had planned to reveal it all when I took him to meet my parents, hoping it would be a delightful surprise. Instead, he had delivered this. A betrayal so profound it felt like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. 3 years. I had been kept in the dark for 3 whole years, unknowingly playing the role of the other woman, his mistress? A wave of nausea washed over me, so intense I swayed. Suddenly my skin crawled, as if 1,000 insects were skittering beneath it. An indescribable revulsion filled me. "Oh, still calling him Liam so affectionately, are we?" The woman Sophia, I would soon learn was her name, sneered, her eyes narrowing. Her expensive shoe lashed out, connecting brutally with my stomach. I cried out, unprepared for the assault, and crumpled to the ground. A searing, knife-like pain shot through my abdomen, radiating outwards. She stalked forward, placing her sharp-heeled shoe onto my cheek, grinding it into the asphalt. Her face, inches from mine, was a mask of savage triumph. "Tell me, you little whore, at such a young age you could have learned anything. Why learn to be a homewrecker, seducing other women's husbands? Do your parents even know they raised such a shameless creature?" "Ma'am, please," I gasped, tears welling in my eyes, pain and terror making my voice ragged. "There must be a misunderstanding. I swear I didn't know he was married. I had no idea." My stomach churned with a new, horrifying fear for the tiny life within me. "He'll be back any second. If you don't believe me, I'll confront him right in front of you." "Oh, don't you worry your pretty little head about him," Sophia said, her voice dripping with contempt. "He won't escape either. Whether you knew or not is irrelevant. The dog I raised, even if I'm done with it, no one else gets to touch it." Her face was an ashen mask of fury. "Sisters," she barked to her companions, who were watching with avid, cruel eyes, "strip her. Let's give everyone a good look. Let them see the price for being a husband-stealing whore." "No, please don't." Panic, raw and overwhelming, clawed at me. I scrambled, trying to get away, but she yanked me back by my hair, her grip like iron. "You've already shown you have no shame," she hissed, her smile a terrifying rictus. "Why bother keeping that skin on your body?" With a vicious tug, she ripped my jacket from my shoulders. The other women surged forward, their faces alight with a kind of vicious glee. They clawed at my clothes, tearing at the fabric with savage force. My blouse, my skirt. They were ripped away in seconds, leaving me exposed in my underwear, shivering with cold, shame, and a terror that went bone deep. The service area wasn't deserted. People were watching from a distance, a silent, curious crowd. Some were even filming with their phones, their faces impassive or worse, entertained. Not a single person moved to help, to intervene. Their silence was another layer of violation. I'm not a homewrecker. I sobbed, trying to cover myself, my voice hoarse and cracking. I didn't know Liam was married. You can't do this. I'm a victim too. This is illegal. Illegal. Sophia scoffed, a disdainful sneer twisting her lips. She gestured expansively. In this territory, Amelia, I, Sophia Xiao, am the law. Xiao? Sophia Xiao? The name echoed in my mind, disturbingly familiar. Then, like a shard of ice piercing my memory, I remembered. Once, a long time ago, I'd seen Liam chatting online with someone named Sophia Xiao. When I'd asked, he'd casually said she was his cousin, a successful businesswoman. Her business, he'd mentioned, had some overlap with my family's interests. Thinking I was being clever, helping him build connections, I had even discreetly recommended her company to Ethan, hoping to foster good relations with Liam's family. Ethan, always indulgent of my whims when they seemed harmless, would naturally give preferential treatment to anyone I suggested. I even recalled seeing her name on a list of corporate gift recipients Ethan had reviewed over the new year. And now the horrifying truth crashed down on me. This woman wasn't his cousin. She was his wife. A new wave of despair washed over me. I had been so easily duped, so thoroughly played. I opened my mouth, a desperate hope flickering that I could make her understand. We were both victims, both deceived by this despicable man, Liam. But before I could utter a word, a heavy-set, middle-aged woman beside Sophia, her face flushed with exertion and excitement, gave a powerful wrench and ripped my bra clean off. I screamed, a raw, animal sound of pure terror and humiliation, instinctively crossing my arms over my chest. As my bra was torn away, something fluttered to the ground. My hospital ultrasound report. Sophia's eyes, narrowed in contempt, flickered towards it. She bent, plucked it from the dirty asphalt, her brow furrowed. As she scanned the contents, her eyes widened, then bulged with a fresh wave of incandescent rage. "You're pregnant with his child?" she roared, her voice cracking with fury. The sound was terrifying. "You really will stop at nothing to climb the ladder, will you, you scheming bitch? If I don't make you regret the day you ever laid eyes on my husband, then my name isn't Sophia Xiao." Her face was a terrifying shade of purple. She snatched a bottle of what looked like hard liquor from one of her cronies. Her companions grabbed me, prying my jaws open with brutal fingers. Sophia tilted the bottle, and the fiery liquid gushed down my throat. A choke, gag, tears and snot streaming down my face. My throat felt like it was being raked with razor blades. I tried to speak, to beg, but no sound came out. Unsatisfied, she forced 2 more bottles down my throat. I rarely drank, and certainly never anything this potent. The world began to spin, colors blurring, sounds becoming distorted and distant. When they finally released me, I collapsed to the ground, my body limp and unresponsive. A violent wave of nausea overwhelmed me. "Feel like throwing up, do you?" Sophia purred, her voice dangerously soft. "Let me help you with that." Her foot lashed out again, a vicious, targeted kick to my already aching abdomen. I couldn't hold it back any longer. I retched violently, the contents of my stomach, mixed with bile and alcohol, spewing onto the filthy ground. "Blood! Boss Sophia, she's bleeding!" One of the women cried out, her voice suddenly tinged with a flicker of fear. I looked down, dazed. My light-colored trousers were darkening, soaked through with a horrifyingly familiar crimson stain. My throat, raw from the alcohol, was raspy and burning. A violent cramping pain pulsed in my lower abdomen, growing more intense with each passing second. My face, I knew, must be as white as paper. I wanted to explain, to plead, to scream, but I had no strength left. The world was a dizzying, painful haze. "Don't be so dramatic," Sophia sneered, though a sliver of something unreadable flickered in her eyes. "It's just a miscarriage. She's not going to die." It was at that precise, horrific moment that Liam finally returned from the restroom. He stopped dead in his tracks, his eyes widening in shock as he took in the scene. Me half-naked, bruised, bleeding on the ground. Sophia and her entourage standing over me like a pack of wolves. For a moment he just stood there, utterly bewildered, his face a mask of confusion. "What's wrong, darling? Does your heart ache for her?" Sophia purred, stepping towards him. She jabbed a finger at his chest, her voice a low, dangerous growl. Liam, you've got some serious nerve. Using my money, the money that keeps you, to support this little whore on the side? Did you take me for a complete idiot? Sophia, darling, you have to believe me. Liam finally snapped out of his stupor. He rushed forward, his hands outstretched as if to embrace her, his voice frantic, pleading. There's nothing between us. Nothing at all. Sophia slapped him hard across the face, the sound a sharp crack in the tense air. Nothing, she shrieked, her voice laced with venom. You have a child with her, and you tell me it's nothing? It was her. She seduced me, Sophia, I swear. Liam dropped to his knees before her, his voice a desperate, pathetic whine. I was weak. I made a mistake. You're the only one I truly love, Sophia. She was just for fun, a diversion. It meant nothing. Just for fun? Lying there, weak and bleeding, a bitter, self-mocking laugh tried to escape my lips, but only a choked sob emerged. Liam. My first boyfriend. My first love. My first kiss. My first embrace, the first man I had ever been with. I had given him my innocence, my trust, and now I carried the shattered remnants of what would have been his child. And it was all just for fun? 3 years of carefully constructed sweetness, of whispered promises and tender moments, all of it, in that single brutal instant, transformed into a cruel, hollow mockery. The physical pain radiating through my body was nothing compared to the agony tearing through my heart. A chilling coldness, deeper than any I had ever known, began to seep into my very soul. Oh, so it was just for fun, was it? Sophia's voice was laced with a chilling amusement, her eyes glinting. Well then, I can give you a chance to prove it. I seem to recall you studied medicine in university, didn't you, Liam? Yes, I did. Liam nodded quickly, a flicker of unease, then dawning horror in his eyes. He clearly had no idea where this was going, but he knew it wouldn't be good. Excellent. Sophia pointed a perfectly manicured finger at me, my broken form on the ground. If you personally remove that thing from her belly right here, right now, then I'll believe you were just playing around with her. Otherwise, Liam, my dear, well, I believe you're quite familiar with my temper. Liam hesitated, his face paling. His eyes darted towards me, then quickly away. What's wrong? Having second thoughts? Can't bear to part with your little bastard? Sophia taunted, her smile widening. No, Sophia, it's not that. Liam stammered, his voice shaking. It's just, in this environment, performing such a procedure. If something went wrong, an infection, complications, I'm afraid it might reflect badly on you, 'cause you trouble. Sophia let out a short, sharp laugh. Oh, Liam, if I didn't know what a lying, spineless worm you are, I might almost be touched by your concern. Her eyes, cold and assessing, swept over him. My company, as of this morning, just signed a very lucrative long-term contract with Sterling Industries, with Jade Prince Ethan Sterling himself. I am, you might say, under his esteemed patronage now. Her voice dripped with newfound arrogance. Compared to Mr. Sterling, any problem you might cause is insignificant. So, are you going to do it or not? Of course, the whispers about the peerless Jade Prince, a man as flawless as Jade. That was Ethan's moniker in the business world, a nickname I'd playfully helped popularize years ago. Initially, some in our social circle had scoffed, thinking it presumptuous. But as Ethan had steadily, brilliantly expanded the Sterling family's empire, the name had become synonymous with power, acumen, and untouchable prestige. Now, when people mentioned the Jade Prince, it was always with a thumbs up, an acknowledgement of a reputation well earned. And Sophia Shao, it seemed, was now basking in his reflected glory. Have you made your decision, Liam? Sophia's voice, sharp as a shard of ice, cut through his dithering. Liam took a deep, shuddering breath, his face a mask of grim resolve. I'll do it. He scrambled to his feet and went to our car, his movements jerky and unsteady. He returned a moment later, carrying a small metallic case. A medical kit. He fumbled it open, his hands trembling as he selected a gleaming, terrifyingly sharp scalpel. He started walking towards me. My eyes widened in sheer terror, my pupils dilating. It wasn't just the baby anymore. After Liam's monstrous betrayal, I knew I couldn't bring his child into the world. But an abortion performed here like this by him, I might never be able to conceive again. The thought was a fresh stab of agony. I thrashed, trying to push myself away with my elbows, my voice a raw, desperate rasp. Liam, no. Don't you dare come near me. I am Jade Prince's sister. Ethan Sterling is my brother. If you touch me, he will destroy you. He will never let you get away with this. A stunned silence fell over the group for a beat, 2 beats. Then, a harsh cackle erupted from Sophia. Well, look at you learning to use your connections, she sneered. But the Jade Prince's name? That's not something a little gutter rat like you can just throw around. If word got out that a common whore was falsely claiming kinship with him, TSK, the consequences would be unpleasant. I am his sister. I cried, desperation making me bold. I can prove it. I can call him right now. My fumbling fingers found my phone in my pocket. With trembling hands, I managed to dial Ethan's number. The call connected. Ethan, help me. Please, Ethan, help me. I sobbed into the phone. Enough of this. Sophia's foot slammed down on my outstretched hand, crushing the phone beneath her heel. The delicate screen shattered, embedding sharp fragments into my palm and fingers. The phone and my hand were ground into the dirt. I screamed, a thin, piercing sound yanking my hand back. Excruciating pain shot up my arm, and the world swam dizzily before my eyes. But I knew with a desperate clarity that I couldn't faint. If I lost consciousness now, it would all be over. No wonder you managed to bewitch my husband, you little fox. Sophia sneered, looking down at me with contempt. You even put on a convincing act. She laughed. If you're Jade Prince's sister, then I'm Jade Prince's wife. His sister. Do you have any idea what kind of woman that would be? Do you really think someone of her stature would ever look twice at a worthless piece of trash like Liam? Her words, though meant to mock, struck a raw, painful nerve. Growing up in the lap of luxury, I, Amelia Sterling, had, at the tender age of 20, impulsively decided I wanted to experience real life, the life of an ordinary person. I had harbored romantic, naive fantasies of a sweet, unassuming love, one untainted by status or wealth. Ethan surprisingly had supported my whim. Do whatever you want, Amelia, he'd said. Our family doesn't need you to. Make a strategic marriage. And as for boyfriends, don't worry about their background. Anyone who marries you will be marrying up, no matter who they are. I had believed him. I had believed in my fairy tale. And now reality had delivered this brutal, soul-crushing slap in the face. The pain of my shattered illusions, of my own monumental foolishness, was far worse than any physical torment they could inflict. Liam was advancing, step by deliberate step, the scalpel glinting menacingly in his hand. Hold her legs apart, Sophia commanded, her voice cold and devoid of any emotion as she watched the unfolding horror. One of her cronies grabbed my hair, yanking my head back so hard I thought my neck would snap. Others moved to pry my legs apart. I fought with the last vestiges of my strength, kicking and twisting, but I was too weak. Seeing my resistance, the same heavy-set woman who had torn off my bra picked up a heavy wooden baseball bat that had mysteriously appeared. With a sickening thud, she brought it down hard on my hip, then again on my thigh. A blood-curdling scream tore from my throat as an explosion of agony shot through my lower body. My legs went numb, useless. Through a haze of pain and despair, I heard my own piteous cries as two of the women easily forced my now unresponsive legs apart. Liam, if you dare touch me, I swear to God, not even the heavens will be able to save you. I shrieked, my voice cracking, the threat sounding pathetically hollow even to my own ears. Liam took a deep breath, his face pale but set. Amelia, don't struggle, he said, his voice surprisingly calm, almost clinical. This scalpel is extremely sharp. If you keep moving like this, I can't guarantee there won't be an accident. Liam. Sophia. I was almost delirious with pain and rage, tears of blood, or so it felt, streaming from my eyes. If I survive this day, I will see you both dead and buried. I swear it. My, what a stubborn little fox you are, Sophia drawled, a slow, cruel smile spreading across her face. Still making threats, even at death's door. She chuckled, then picked up a smaller, wickedly sharp knife. A different one from Liam's scalpel, that one of her women offered her. She advanced towards me. Let's see you talk tough now, she hissed. Go on, keep being defiant. Her smile turned into a predatory grin as she leaned down, the knife flashing. She drew it across my cheek once, twice, 3 times. Cruel, bloody gashes bloomed on my skin. Cold sweat poured down my body, stinging the fresh wounds on my face like fire. Each intake of breath, each slight movement of my facial muscles, sent fresh waves of searing pain through me. I clenched my fists, biting my lip until I tasted blood. desperately trying not to scream again. Screaming would only stretch the torn skin, making the agony worse. "There," Sophia said, stepping back to admire her handiwork with a satisfied, contemptuous smirk. "Without that pretty little face, let's see how you plan to seduce anyone else's husband." She casually tossed the bloodied knife onto the dirt beside me. "Still not talking? Where's all that fight now?" Sophia crossed her arms, looking down at me with disdain. "I'll give you one last chance. Admit you're a homewrecking slut who seduced my husband, and I'll consider letting you live. How about it?" "I am not a homewrecker," I forced out through gritted teeth, my voice a hoarse whisper. "I didn't seduce your husband. Spirit, I'll give you that. And a temper too. No wonder you dared to go after my man," Sophia said, her voice turning cold again. "But unfortunately for you in this world, Amelia, what matters is power. Spirit and temper are useless without it." She sneered. "You might have schemed and plotted to seduce him, but all it takes is one word from me, and he wouldn't dare even fart in my direction." She narrowed her eyes, her gaze shifting to Liam, who was standing frozen, trembling like a leaf. "What are you waiting for, you idiot?" she snapped at him. "Has your heart gone soft? Do you want to die with her as a pair of tragic lovers?" No, I'll do it. I'll do the surgery now," Liam stammered, his head bowed, deliberately avoiding my gaze. He took another deep, shuddering breath and knelt beside me. The moment he squatted down, a surge of pure, unadulterated hatred, a primal need for vengeance, flooded through me, momentarily eclipsing the pain. With a desperate lunge, summoning every last ounce of strength I possessed, I snatched up the knife Sophia had discarded. This bastard. This dog of a man. If I was going to die, I would drag him to hell with me. I thrust the knife upwards, aiming for his groin, for a place that would cause maximum damage. Liam, reacting on pure instinct, flinched and threw up an arm to block the blow. The knife plunged deep into his forearm. He let out a piercing shriek of pain and surprise. I ripped the knife free, blood spraying, and prepared to strike again. But Liam, galvanized by pain and fury, reacted faster. He kicked out wildly, his foot connecting with my already injured arm, sending the knife flying out of my grasp. "You bitch!" he screamed, his eyes bloodshot and crazed. "You dare to stab me? I'll kill you." He stomped down hard on my already bleeding abdomen. A wave of blackness threatened to engulf me as I coughed up a mouthful of blood. He didn't even glance at it. He just kept kicking again and again, his face a mask of primal rage. I curled into a fetal position, trying desperately to protect my vital organs, my head, my ravaged womb. Sophia's women started to move forward, perhaps to pull him off, but Sophia waved them back with a cold, dismissive gesture. "Leave them," she said, a chilling smile playing on her lips. "Why interrupt? I do so enjoy watching dogs tear each other apart." Finally, when I was barely conscious, my breath coming in shallow, ragged gasps, Liam stopped, panting heavily. I felt like I was dying. Every inch of my body screamed in agony. Moving, breathing, even thinking was an excruciating effort. My limbs felt disconnected, as if my bones had turned to dust. But through the haze of pain, I fixed my eyes on Liam, my gaze filled with a burning, unquenchable hatred. Just hours ago, I had been pleading with my brother to help our family accept this very man. This ordinary, unassuming man I thought I loved. Now all I wanted was for him to die. A slow, agonizing, unforgiving death. Any trace of hesitation had vanished from Liam's face. He quickly, clumsily bandaged his bleeding arm with a strip of cloth torn from his own shirt. His eyes were red-rimmed and bloodshot as he roughly pried my legs apart again. "You bitch!" he snarled, his voice thick with malice. "You forced me to do this." "Liam," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "You will regret this. You will regret this for the rest of your miserable life." I had no strength left to fight, only to utter this weak, desperate prophecy. "You're damn right I regret it," he spat, his face contorted with fury. "I regret ever meeting you. I regret ever letting you seduce me, you manipulative slut." He raised the scalpel, preparing to cut through my remaining shreds of clothing, to violate me in the most horrific way imaginable. But just as he lifted the gleaming instrument, a deafening rhythmic roar thundered from above. He froze, his hand faltering. He, along with everyone else, instinctively looked up. Hovering directly above us, the wind from their rotors whipping dust and debris into our faces, were three sleek black helicopters. The cabin door of the lead helicopter slid open, revealing a figure silhouetted against the gray sky. A man, his expression like ice, stared down at Liam. Liam's eyes met that glacial gaze, and a visible shiver of pure, unadulterated terror ran through him. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. With a monumental effort, I lifted my head. My vision was blurry, but I recognized that silhouette, that commanding presence. Tears, hot and uncontrollable, finally began to stream down my battered face. Hadn't cried when they beat me. I hadn't cried when they tore my clothes from my body, exposing me to the leering eyes of strangers. I hadn't even begged for mercy when Sophia's knife had sliced into my skin. But now, seeing that familiar figure, the floodgates opened. Relief so potent it was almost painful washed over me. "My brother is here," I managed to say, turning my head to look at Sophia and Liam, a ghost of a triumphant, savage smile on my bloody lips. "You're all finished." "What?" Sophia's face, already pale, turned ashen. Her eyes darted upwards, a flicker of genuine panic in their depths. She was somewhat nearsighted and couldn't make out the figure clearly, but she could see the helicopters were descending, their landing target clearly this very spot. The women she had brought with her, moments before so bold and cruel, now huddled around her, their faces etched with dawning apprehension, their breathing becoming audibly rapid and shallow. The helicopters landed smoothly on the service area's cracked tarmac, their rotors slowing. My brother Ethan stepped out, his face a mask of frigid, controlled fury. He moved with an unnerving, predatory grace. Sophia and her entourage were frozen, utterly petrified. None of them dared to move a muscle, not even to breathe too loudly, as Ethan strode towards me. He reached my side, his gaze sweeping over my broken, bloodied form. For a fleeting instant, an expression of profound pain flickered in his eyes, so quickly I might have imagined it. Then it was gone, replaced by that icy calm. He gently removed his expensive suit jacket and draped it over my shivering, exposed shoulders. "How are you feeling now, Amelia?" he asked, his voice surprisingly gentle, though an undercurrent of something far more dangerous resonated beneath it. "Ethan," I whispered, my voice thick with tears and pain. "It hurts. Everything hurts so much." He nodded slowly, his jaw tight. "I know." Almost immediately, a team of paramedics, who had clearly arrived with the helicopters, rushed forward with a stretcher. They began to assess my injuries with quiet efficiency, their movements swift and professional. Sophia Xiao was trembling uncontrollably, her teeth chattering audibly. The Jade Prince, the man standing before her, radiating an aura of lethal power, was the legendary Jade Prince himself. She had probably never, in her wildest dreams, imagined meeting him under such horrific, compromising circumstances. As Ethan turned, his cold gaze sweeping over them, the women clustered around Sophia instinctively recoiled, parting to create a path. Sophia's voice was a quivering, terrified squeak. Mr. Sterling. Jade Prince. Essie. She's really your sister." Ethan didn't answer her directly. Instead, his gaze, like chips of ice, swept over every single person present. Jade Prince, sir, this has nothing to do with us. It was all Sophia Xiao. She ordered us. We had no idea the young lady was your sister, sir. If we had known, we wouldn't have dared. We swear. Mr. Sterling, we were wrong. Please forgive us. Have mercy." They fell to their knees one by one, a chorus of desperate, pathetic pleas filling the air. Several of them, overcome by terror, lost control of their bladders, the acrid stench of urine mingling with the smell of dust and blood. "Who stripped my sister's clothes?" Ethan asked, his voice deceptively calm, yet carrying an edge that promised retribution. A flurry of frantic pointing and denial erupted as each woman tried to absolve herself, eagerly betraying the others. Ethan's gaze settled on them, cold and unwavering. "Remember their faces," he said to one of his men. Then to the women, "You stripped my sister, so I will take your skin. That seems equitable, don't you think?" He spoke as if discussing a minor business transaction. "No. Please no." One of the younger women fainted dead away. Others, their faces contorted with terror, crawled towards me on their knees, begging me to intercede. Looking at their grotesque, terrified faces, I felt nothing. Not a flicker of pity. Not a shred of compassion. When they had assaulted me, they had shown no hesitation, no mercy. Now they were afraid? Good. "And my sister's injuries," Ethan continued, his voice still unervingly level. "Who inflicted those?" One woman, perhaps emboldened by sheer terror or stupidity, or perhaps clinging to a misplaced sense of her own connections, actually squared her shoulders. I did. So what? She spat out, her voice shaky but defiant. I don't care if you're the Jade Prince or the Gold Prince. My father is Marcus Thorne. Even if you're powerful around here, you'd better know your place. If you're a dragon, you coil. If you're a tiger. Before she could finish her blustering threat, Ethan spoke, his voice dropping to a near whisper, yet carrying more menace than any shout. Call her family. Tell them to provide me with a satisfactory explanation. Or advise them to find a place to hide where I will never find them. Yes, sir. One of Ethan's men replied, already dialing. The defiant woman's face underwent a dramatic transformation, from bravado to stark terror, as she realized the enormity of her mistake. A moment later her phone rang. As she listened to the enraged, terrified shouting on the other end, all the fight drained out of her. She collapsed onto the ground, a whimpering, sobbing mess. Before she could even attempt to renew her pleas, Ethan's men forcibly dragged her away. Deal with them quickly, Ethan said, a note of finality in his voice. Notify their families to come and collect what's left. He then turned his back on them, dismissing them from his attention. The air was filled with a cacophony of horrific, pleading screams. But soon silence descended, an even more terrifying quiet. Mr. Sterling. Jade Prince, this is all a terrible misunderstanding. Sophia, now alone and exposed, crawled towards him on her knees, her expensive suit soiled and torn. My company has always had an excellent working relationship with Sterling Industries. Her voice was a desperate, trembling whisper. I am willing to transfer all my shares in my company to you. As compensation for your sister. Please, I beg you, spare me this one time. I know who you are, Miss Xiao, Ethan said softly, his voice devoid of inflection. It was my sister Amelia, who initially recommended your company. That is the only reason you were given the opportunity to collaborate with us. Sophia froze, her eyes widening in dawning comprehension, then utter horror. She had always wondered why a powerhouse like Sterling Industries, led by the Jade Prince himself, would deign to partner with her relatively modest firm. Now, Ethan's words made it chillingly clear. Leah must have fed Amelia some fabricated story about her, and Amelia, in her naivety, had tried to help her boyfriend's cousin. The realization hit her with the force of a physical blow. She looked as though she wanted to beat her own head against the ground in regret. If she had only known, if she had had the slightest inkling of this connection. Forget that Liam wasn't even her real husband, just a pretty boy she kept. Even if he had been her beloved spouse, she would have gift-wrapped him and delivered him to Amelia's bed herself rather than risk offending the Sterlings. But it was too late. All catastrophically, irrevocably too late. Sophia broke down completely, her body racked with loud, hysterical sobs. I was wrong. Oh God, I was so wrong. I truly know I was wrong. She began to slap her own face hard repeatedly. My father is Victor Xiao. My grandfather and Elder Zhang are the closest of friends. Jade Prince, I am the only daughter of the Xiao family. If you can just let me go this once, our entire Xiao family will be eternally grateful to you. She crawled, groveling, to where I lay on the stretcher, her face a mess of tears, snot, and self-inflicted bruises. Miss Sterling. Amelia. I know what I did was monstrous. Here. She fumbled for the bloody knife she had used on me, the one she'd tossed aside, and thrust it towards me. Take it. As long as it satisfies you. Even if you carve up my face. Anything. I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. My crimes, they don't deserve death, do they? The woman who, mere minutes ago, had been the epitome of arrogant, cruel power, was now a pathetic, sniveling wretch at my feet. Her transformation was absolute. I am not made of stone. Seeing her like this, so utterly broken and terrified, a flicker of not pity perhaps, but a weary kind of revulsion at the whole sorry spectacle stirred within me. I almost opened my mouth to say something, anything. But Ethan, as if reading my mind, as if he knew my momentary weakness, spoke before I could utter a sound, giving me no chance to intercede. You may call them now, Miss Xiao, he said, his voice as cold and hard as diamond. Call your father. Call your grandfather. And call this Elder Zhang. Have them all come here. He paused, his gaze unwavering. If they choose not to come, I can always pay them a personal visit. At Ethan's words, the last vestiges of hope drained from Sophia's face. She stared at him, her eyes wide with a despair so profound. It was almost palpable. She understood then with chilling certainty that no amount of begging, no amount of groveling would save her. The powerful connections she had always relied on, the safety net she had taken for granted, were utterly worthless against the might of the Jade Prince. Her influential backers were probably less significant than a junior receptionist at Sterling Industries. Suddenly Sophia's gaze, wild and crazed, fell on Liam, who was standing a short distance away, guarded by two of Ethan's men, still looking dazed and terrified. With a guttural snarl, she snatched up the knife from the ground. "You bastard!" she shrieked, her voice a raw broken sound. "This is all because of you. If I'm going to die, I'm taking you with me." She lunged at Liam with the ferocity of a cornered animal. But she barely took 2 steps before Liam, reacting with surprising speed, kicked out viciously, his foot connecting squarely with her stomach. Sophia crumpled to the ground, winded and sobbing. Liam, however, paid her no further attention. His eyes suddenly alight with a desperate, manic hope, fixed on me. He surged forward, trying to reach my stretcher. "Amelia! Amelia, thank God! You're safe!" he cried, his voice thick with a desperate, feigned sincerity. "I was only pretending to go along with that madwoman. I was terrified she would hurt you. That's why I said those things, did those things. It was all an act to protect you." His eyes pleaded with me. "I was trapped, Amelia. I had no choice. You know I love you. You're the only one I've ever loved. And our baby, our child is in your belly. Don't worry, Amelia. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of our child. I swear I'll be good to you both." He reached out, trying to touch my hand, but Ethan, with a movement so swift it was almost a blur, kicked him squarely in the chest, sending him sprawling backwards onto the tarmac. "This," Ethan said, his voice dripping with icy contempt as he stared down at my battered face, "is the man you chose, Amelia? The man you wanted me to plead with Mom and Dad to accept?" "Ethan, please," I whispered, my face burning with a shame so profound I wished the earth would swallow me whole. "Don't say any more." Liam, undeterred, tried to scramble to his feet, to rush towards me again, but Ethan's men intercepted him, restraining him easily despite his struggles. He continued to plead, to profess his undying love, his voice a pathetic, desperate whine. "Let's go, Amelia," Ethan said softly, his expression unreadable. "We're going home." He gently lifted me, cradle style, into his arms and carried me towards the waiting helicopter. Soon we were airborne, the chaotic, violent scene at the service station shrinking below us, eventually disappearing from sight. On the ground, Liam paced back and forth like a caged animal, muttering to himself, his voice a frantic, delusional stream. "Amelia loves me so much," he chanted almost like a prayer. "She's carrying my child. She has to forgive me. She will forgive me. She has to." Sophia, disheveled and broken, sat slumped on the grimy asphalt, her hair a wild tangle around her bruised face. A horrifying, mirthless laugh escaped her lips, a sound like dry leaves skittering across concrete. "Don't delude yourself, you pathetic fool," she sneered, her voice raspy. "You should be praying for a quick end. The only reason you're still standing here, still breathing, is because the Jade Prince wants you alive for now." Her eyes filled with a terrifying, knowing malice fixed on him. "I suspect you'll soon regret, with every fiber of your being, why you didn't take the opportunity to kill yourself while you still had the chance. And